What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode, and we are here for round number 21 of Season 5 of our Jaguar Racing career. We're going to be at the Portuguese Grand Prix, and we come off the back of the Brazilian Grand Prix, riding a high after we managed to bag a victory in the Grand Prix itself. Only P2 in the sprint, but he managed to get past George Russell off the line, and we never looked back from that point. And as a result of that, you're about to see when we go through here, looking at the progress history, of course, you can see that victory I got, marking my 7th victory of the season. No teams really making development gains at this stage in the season, especially with a regulation change upcoming. No real need here either to change components. Gearbox looking a bit worn, but I'm actually looking at this and thinking there is an opportunity for us to maybe get through the season without a gearbox change for a change. But yeah, you can see as a result, I'm now 51 points ahead in the driver's standings, and we also lead Red Bull by 1 point in the constructor standings as well. So a real opportunity for us to walk away with both championships, and we could win the championship here in Portugal if we beat Lando Norris by, I believe it's just 2 points. 2 points is all we need to beat him by, and we will win the championship. So it's not an absolutely foregone conclusion that we could do it here today, but there is a real opportunity for us to clinch the championship with a couple races remaining and turn our attention fully to the Constructors' Championship, where we'll want myself and Jack Doohan firing on all cylinders. Now, I'm showing you this just to give you an idea of how the complexion of the season's gone so far. George Russell grabbing a couple of early wins, but then, you know, failing to win since Azerbaijan, actually. Norris winning in Australia, Imola, Austria, and the Netherlands. And then myself picking up the 7 wins that I picked up as well. So with Norris winning 4 races and myself winning 7, what that means is if he wins every race from now to the end of the season and we finish tied on points in Abu Dhabi, he will win on countback because he's had more P2s. But that also means that I can't finish P2 at all, because if I finish P2, then I think it goes to how many P3s someone's got, and I don't know who the leader of that one would be. So yeah, it would be a question mark for me as well as for you watching. But yeah, he would need to win all 3 races for the rest of the season just to win on countback if we were tied on points. Obviously, he can still get ahead of me on points. Maximum 78 points can still be scored for any driver this season, and I'm 51 points ahead of Lando Norris, so feasibly he could actually wrap up the championship in Las Vegas if I have a couple of awful races in Portugal and Las Vegas. It's very, very, very unlikely, but it's not impossible, and that's the crucial thing, right, is that it isn't impossible. So we will see as we get into the practice for Portugal, and you can see that actually I'm not in the top 14 here. However, I felt like I had pretty decent pace. This race, undoubtedly, it will be tougher than Brazil. I started to pull away a little bit with the DRS and everything in Brazil. I don't think that's quite going to be the same deal here in Portugal. I think it will be a very difficult fight all the way to the flag, and hopefully we'll be able to maximise our result here. At the very least, I hope we'll be able to beat Lando Norris and wrap up the championship here today. Basically, any situation where I beat Lando Norris, as long as he doesn't get the fastest lap, means that I will walk away with this championship no matter what happens. And also, if he doesn't win this race, if I only outscore him by 1 point, I think I still win the championship. So actually, we only really need to outscore him by 1 point, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there's a situation where I can beat him. Yeah, what am I saying? Yeah, there's no situation where he could finish first, but I could outscore him by 1 point. So yeah, if I beat him here, then that means that we will be going on to win the championship. So that's all we need to worry about, really. 4th place for us in Q1 there. I didn't really talk about it too much, but yeah, 1:15.3 for us. George Russell, Norris, Albon, all of those guys up at the sharp end. Jack Doohan in P12. We'll need a bit of improvement from him in Q2. And then it was Sargent, Tsunoda, Fittipaldi, Hulkenberg, Stroll, and De Vries knocked out in Q1. So yeah, I was too busy doing the math on how we can wrap up the championship here today. I think the only situation where I beat him but don't wrap up the championship is if I finish 9th and he finishes 10th and he gets the fastest lap. then he will be 51 points behind me, so technically can still win the championship in the final 2 races. But once again, he will need an absolutely amazing performance if that happens. So feasibly, Lando Norris needs to win here, and he needs to outscore me by a decent chunk of points. He needs to outscore me by an average of 17 points over the next for every race over the next 3 races. So it's going to be difficult for him. We did a 1:15.5 on a used set of tyres here in Q2, and as we round the final corner in Q3, it's going to be a 1:15.2, so we're improving, certainly, but it's still not going to be good enough for the fastest lap of the session. We only finished P5 in Q2, so we actually went backwards a little bit, but we make it through to Q3, and that's the important part. And not only do we make it through to Q3, but Jack Doohan actually goes fastest here. Could we be on for a Doohan pole position? That'd be quite exciting. Meanwhile, George Russell is out in Q2. Not what you want to see from him. It's Gasly, Leclerc, Verstappen, Russell, Hauger, and Joe knocked out here in Q2. Meanwhile, Lawson making it through in P6. Awesome result for the New Zealander, and we'll see if he can score points in the race itself, see if he can get a good result in Q3 as well, for that matter, as we make our way into the final session of qualifying now. First flying lap of Q3, and we're on a used set of soft compound tyres. We'll see what kind of time we can do on the used rubber as we come on the run to the line. It's 1:15.1 on used tyres. Pretty exciting. I think we can probably get into the 1:14s here. However, you can see there's already drivers in the mid 1:14s, which I think might just be a step too far for us. We come into the final sector here. We're a couple tenths up, and there's definitely more room for improvement. For example, this corner here, I took a bit deep on my first run in this session, which means there was a lot of improvement here, and you can see that we are making up a decent chunk of time, about another tenth in the final sector by the looks of things. So it's going to be a 3/10 improvement. This won't be pole position, but it should still be a decent time. I wonder where this will put us as we cross the line. It's 1:14.8, and that is good enough to put us P3. So we'll be starting in the top 3 for the Portuguese Grand Prix tomorrow.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Albon, Sainz and Robinson. Goodbye for now then, but we are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
So Alex Albon grabbing pole position there, keeping the constructors fight alive. Myself in P3, Doohan in P8, but Lando Norris could only muster P9, and that is not what he would want to see if he is to try and stay in this championship fight today. He is going to need an absolutely amazing race now from P9 if he wants any chance of staying in this championship fight. And with Perez qualifying P10, the constructors fight looks well and truly on as well.
Welcome along then to Portimao, one of the busiest towns in the Algarve and a breathtaking destination that brings tourists from all around the world to the shores of southern Portugal. Today it's the backdrop for the latest round of the Formula One World Championship, and with a circuit this wide, we could be in for a lot of exciting wheel-to-wheel action today. 2.9 miles of track at Portimao, featuring 15 turns, 9 to the right and 6 to the left. A lot going on at this track, a lot of elevation changes that will affect the driver's braking and acceleration. Keep an eye out for the DRS zone on the final straight, as that'll be the setup for a lot of today's overtaking opportunities. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. What a great lap from Alexander Albon yesterday. He'll start from pole position. A very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Robinson, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Liam Lawson, Magnussen, Doohan, Norris, Perez, Gasly, Leclerc, Verstappen, Russell, Hauger, Joe, Sargent, Tsunoda, Fittipaldi, Hulkenberg, Stroll, and Nick de Vries rounds off the grid. And now, it's time to head down to the track. A warm welcome to Natalie Pinkham, who is beside me in the commentary box today.
The key now will be to keep the right mindset. We've seen time and again that things go wrong if they just try to do the minimum. Not necessarily because of the pressure, but because it's different to their usual approach. They'll need to avoid that and stay focused today.
So yeah, as Natalie Pinkham says, it is going to be absolutely critical to just try and drive how I would normally race. You know, as if the championship fight wasn't potentially about to come to an end here. I'm starting 6 positions ahead of Lando Norris, but it would be very easy for me to fall back through the field, for him to make his way through the field, and for all of a sudden me to be dropping points to Lando Norris and keeping the championship fight open. You know, I said a few races ago, I've never had a championship fight that hasn't gone to Abu Dhabi, hasn't gone to the final race of the season. So this could be my first chance in across F1 22 and 23 in 12 seasons, including, what is this now? This would be my 6th championship fight in those games. This would be my chance to well and truly kill off the championship, at least in the Drivers' Championship. And more than anything, I'm focused on winning at least one Constructors' Championship for this team. So I need to get as best a result I can possibly get here to make sure that we maximise our chances of winning the Constructors as well. So this is really, really important that I still do well here. And we will see what we can do as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and we've had a strong getaway here. Looks like we're marginally faster than Carlos Sainz off the line, but I don't think we'll be jumping Alex Albon into the first corner. Alex Albon will be leading through turn 1, and he holds on to an early lead here in the Portuguese Grand Prix, but we take P2 off of Carlos Sainz. Only 3 races left in Formula 1 for Carlos Sainz, and then he will be bowing out at the age of 35. I looked it up, actually, because I was curious how old these guys would be if we were truly in a 2027 Formula 1 season, as this is sort of emulating, I suppose. And yeah, Hulkenberg, who is also retiring at the end of the season, will be 40 at the point of retirement, and Carlos Sainz will be 35. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how Sainz fares in his last few races. Certainly flying quite high up here in P3. Meanwhile, his teammate being eliminated in Q2 more often than not. Certainly, you know, I was talking before about how I was thinking about potentially signing someone like Leclerc or Verstappen, but they've not really been in the kind of form where I would want to have them on the team. They've had quite a few Q1 and Q2 exits over the course of the season. Meanwhile, there have been a few drivers who've been sort of impressing me over the course of the season, making it into Q3 fairly consistently. And, well, I'm thinking about maybe I should be signing one of them instead. But, you know, we will cross that bridge when we come to it, if we need to come to it, because, of course, I did stipulate that if we stay P1 in the championship, in the Constructors' Championship, Jack Doohan will get a contract renewal at the end of the season. But, you know, you're going to have to wait for the next few videos to find out how that one is going to play out. We'll make our way towards the end of lap 2 here now, into lap 3, and you can see I've actually broken out of DRS range to Carlos Sainz. Meanwhile, Alex Albon has broken out of DRS range to me, so we're in a bit of a no man's land here, really. It's very, very fractional. Like, Carlos Sainz is right on the verge of being in my DRS zone, and I'm not too far away from entering into Alex Albon's DRS range either, although he is getting further and further away. So, yeah, I feel like there's potential for us to just kind of stay in P2. However, you may have seen in the weather forecasts over the course of the race weekend, there is a suggestion that there will be some rain at some point in this race, and as a result of that, we need to potentially prepare for that. We're not running a wet setup here because for the most part the race is going to be dry, but nonetheless, you know, we still need to be on the optimal strategy for that. It's not due to come until much later in the race, but you know, I still want to be ready for it. Meanwhile, we're coming under pressure from Oscar Piastri on lap 7 now. Carlos Sainz has fallen back quite significantly through the field, and as a result, Oscar Piastri, Liam Lawson, Jack Doohan, and I believe Lando Norris now is also trying to get ahead of Carlos Sainz. So, yeah, we're now coming under pressure once again. I think the reason Sainz was falling away from us was not because I had strong pace, but because he had significantly weaker pace. And as a result, we're seeing a few cars starting to pile a bit of pressure on me, such as Oscar Piastri here, going for the move around the outside here. Will he actually be able to hold on to this one? I'm not sure. I'm going to try and keep him behind, but we just don't seem to have the grip out of the corner. And really, I was just struggling quite a lot on these soft compound tyres. They were reaching almost 40% after just 7 laps. And so, with the rain coming in a later stage of the race, I've decided I'm going to do something I deem to be fairly sensible. And I'm actually going to box very early in this race. We're going to go for a mega undercut here, about 6 or 7 laps before the first people are going to be boxing here, and, you know, nearly 10 laps before the people on the medium tyres are due to be boxing. So we're going to go to the back of the field, but we will have a big gap of clear air to come out in, and I'm hoping that should potentially provide us with a framework to go for a big undercut, not only on Oscar Piastri, who just got ahead of us there, but also Alex Albon, who obviously was running in P1 by quite a big margin, but only like 4 or 5 seconds, so I think an undercut will be very possible here, but we will see what happens. In terms of the Constructors' Championship fight, we've been handed a very nice gift here, which is an engine failure for Sergio Perez. Red Bull, who of course were only 1 point behind us in that Constructors' Championship fight. With Sergio Perez pulling off to the side of the road, they will have to rest their hopes entirely on George Russell in this race to get any semblance of result whatsoever, and he started outside the top 10 here today. So as we overtake the Red Bull sister team car of Lance Stroll, we're now going to try and get ahead of his teammate Nick De Vries as well, and this is the bit of the race that's going to be absolutely critical for us. We need to make fast, clinical, decisive overtakes. We cannot afford to get stuck behind these guys, otherwise this undercut that I'm going for will not work, because I will just get too much traffic and it won't be possible. But you know, I'm on sort of 4 or 5 lap old mediums, these guys are on 10 plus lap old soft compound tyres. It should be a foregone conclusion. Verstappen running all the way down in P17 at the moment. He's looking like a back marker right now. Am I really going to be signing a guy who's being overtaken by the Alfa Romeo of Yuki Tsunoda? I don't think I am, to be honest with you. So we may have to think again if we're going to think about signing Max Verstappen. I know he obviously won 1 race this season, but is that enough? Is that enough for me to consider signing Max Verstappen when he's also having races like this, having absolute howlers like this? At one point we were thinking about signing Yuki Tsunoda. I think the ship has sailed on that one. He's not looked anywhere near as good in this season as he looked a few seasons ago. So I think Yuki Tsunoda, he is going to have to, he's going to have to settle for staying at Alfa Romeo, or maybe he'll get a call up to a different team with a few retirements going on, a few sort of shuffles, I imagine, are in the offing. But yeah, for us, we are just trying to cut through the field at the moment. We can't focus too much on that. Overtaking Zhou Guanyu now. Hopefully we're right on the back of him and hopefully we can get past him. But he is providing a bit of a challenge for us on the exit of these corners. You can see that we are literally right up his gearbox looking for a way through. But this is going to be the moment where maybe we start to lose a bit of time. Eventually we dive up the inside of him. We use that superior grip in the tyres, and now we have to try and pull away from the Chinese driver as quickly as we possibly can as we make our way back onto our TV cam now and try and set after my former teammate of Enzo Fittipaldi and the Haas of Logan Sargent as well. We're making our way through the field nicely. Made 5 overtakes in 2 laps. That's not terrible. As Sainz and Magnussen now coming into the pits, we are comfortably undercutting those guys, but they weren't really the drivers we were racing with, not after the first couple of laps in the case of Carlos Sainz at the very least. And now as we make our way to the end of lap 14, a few more cars are coming into the pits. We'll see if there's anyone who's in a particularly, a position that we were racing with before. Piastri obviously was somebody who we were racing with, as was Jack Doohan. Actually, has Jack Doohan managed to... No, I thought he'd tried to undercut Piastri or overtake him in the pit lane or something like that, but no, not quite. Jack Doohan's still behind Piastri for the time being, but we've got a comfortable undercut on Oscar Piastri here, and now setting after the likes of Sargent and the cars in front. Meanwhile, this is Nick De Vries in the AlphaTauri. You know, was he really on course for a good result here today? I don't think so. Obviously still sad for him retiring from the Grand Prix. Wants to get that experience under his belt. Maybe wants to try and deliver in the AlphaTauri as best he can to see if he can get a call up to a stronger team. Maybe he's eyeing up that Ferrari seat. Do I think he's likely to get it? No, but watch that happen now that I've said that. Meanwhile, here's Logan Sargent in the Haas. He's had an up and down performance over the course of the season, occasionally getting himself into Q2 and Q3, bagged a point, I think, at some point during the season. I can't remember when, but generally speaking, a fairly easy target for us, especially when we're on much fresher tyres than his. And now we're going to try and set after our former teammate of Enzo Fittipaldi, but I do get the feeling he may be pulling into the pits here, and indeed he is. You can see a few more cars coming in, including the race leader, Alex Albon, and we've undercut him by a lot by the looks of things, and so ultimately that means that we should be holding on to this position with no hesitation. The closest car behind is actually Oscar Piastri now, as Zhou Guanyu's had a spin here, and he's holding up quite a few of these cars. There's Verstappen in the mix there, one of the Haas's, not sure which one that is, I think it's Hulkenberg, and Zhou Guanyu just really causing a bit of a mess here, all things considered. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we saw some sort of safety car, a red flag, virtual safety car called for that. So, not terrible, but... we're looking here. We've got Lawson and Ocon out in front. They're on the medium compound tyres. Are they going to try and stick it out until the rain comes out, or are they going to box soon? They started on the medium tyres, so they still have to do a mandatory box if there's no rain. But maybe they are trying to stick it out to get onto a set of inters at a later point in this race. The full safety car does come out, and they choose this opportunity to pit for another set of slick tyres. So, yeah, Lawson going onto the softs, Ocon going onto the hards. A bit of a disagreement in what's the optimal strategy to go onto. Obviously, it would be the softs, because we've got this rain, which is starting to come down now as the safety car comes in at the end of lap 20. And you would have to say, you know, the intermediates are not a million miles away. But they're not here yet, crucially. And what that means is I am going to be an absolute sitting duck to the cars behind, because I have been on these tyres for about 10 more laps than everybody else. So I'm going to be coming under immense pressure from the likes of Oscar Piastri, Jack Doohan, Lando Norris even, and maybe, just maybe, this was not the winning strategy for me. It is raining, and maybe this red flag is just going to bail me out here. I was really worried that before the track got wet enough, we were just going to be overtaken by a lot of cars. But as you're about to see as we move on to the race strategy screen, the intermediate tyres are going to be the tyre of choice when the red flag restart happens. And so this is going to provide us with an absolutely golden opportunity to stay in the lead of the race. We'll see what we can do as the lights come on. And the lights go out for the second time here in Portugal. We've had a good getaway compared to Oscar Piastri, but crucially, is it good enough to stay ahead of him? He's going to try and challenge us down into turn 1, and he was right alongside us, but the outside line proving to be the line that you want to have there. Yellow flag behind. Not sure if that's just because of, you know, someone having a bit of a slow moment, caught up in all the traffic and everything. But in any case, Jack Doohan holding on to that P3. He actually had a good start for a change here in the wet, which is nice to see. And as a result, keeping my closest rival, Lando Norris, behind. Don't forget that if we outscore Lando Norris by just 2 points here, we will be the world champion. So this is an absolutely critical situation for us. And we want to make sure that we can take absolutely full advantage of the fact that there's no DRS, which will mean it is going to be very difficult for Oscar Piastri to overtake us, and hopefully we should be able to maintain the lead of this race for the last 10 laps. However, the rain is not very heavy, and I wouldn't be surprised if the track does dry up again before the end. So we're going to have a decision to make there about whether we want to come in and change onto a set of slicks. By the time the track gets dry enough, I would wager to say there probably wouldn't be enough time for it to be really worth it, but we will see whether that proves to be the case or not. As we move on to the replay camera for lap 25 now, Oscar Piastri looking for a move once again up the inside of me into turn 1. And, well, he was very close to me there. Almost surprising that we didn't make contact there, but we've managed to keep him behind. Now he's coming under pressure from Jack Doohan. Could we make this the first 1-2 for Jaguar Racing here in Portugal? I reckon probably not. I think Jack Doohan is going to really struggle to get past Oscar Piastri, and I'm going to really struggle to keep Oscar Piastri behind at the rate I'm going, as he really tries to put a move on me there, much like he did in the dry 20 laps ago, if you can remember that far back. Oscar Piastri was absolutely hounding me through this sequence of corners when I was struggling for grip on the soft compound tyres. Track drying out, tyres overheating because it's very dry and I'm on intermediates. Oscar Piastri putting loads of pressure on me. The DRS, I believe, has already been re-enabled, and even if it hasn't, you'd have to say Oscar Piastri is odds on to get the overtake done on this occasion. But with the ERS, I am just about keeping him behind. We're going to go through turn 1, but I've braked a little bit too late there, I reckon. Is Oscar Piastri going to make this move up the inside? We brake early enough to make the corner this time, but Oscar Piastri has the superior tyre grip. He's not overheated the tyres. We even came under pressure from Jack Doohan there, but I'm sorry to say, Jack, I need this position for my championship hopes right now. I can't allow him to go through, but Jack Doohan doesn't care. He's going to do it anyway. He's going up the inside. He's making his way through, but he can't quite hold on to the move. Norris now on lap 32 has got ahead of Jack Doohan. Oscar Piastri has extended the gap out front to 6.5 seconds. The track is bone dry. Can we keep Lando Norris behind for one more lap? He's got the fastest lap as well, which means that right now I'm scoring 18 points, he's scoring 16 points. If he gets ahead of me, the championship stays alive. If I can stay in this position, I will hold on to the championship lead and I will win the Formula 1 championship. It's going to come down to a last couple of DRS zones. Can we stay ahead of him through this DRS zone? We've saved up the battery in the rain. It was absolutely perfect for us to hold on to as much battery as we possibly could, and we have managed to keep Lando Norris behind. Meanwhile, Jack Doohan has plummeted down the order all the way to 6th. His defence on Lando Norris took so much out of his tyres. He did a great job of keeping Lando Norris behind for a very long time after that red flag with the intermediate tyres. But in the end, he just took a bit too much life out of those tyres. He's been overtaken by Albon and Sainz now. And this has been a good race for Mercedes to stay in the Constructors' Championship fight. Meanwhile, I'm struggling so much through these corners on these worn, overheating, intermediate tyres on a dry track. Is Lando Norris suffering the same problems? I don't think quite as much. Oscar Piastri has gapped me by 2 seconds on this lap. Lando Norris is absolutely fuming at the situation he's in right now. He knows he's faster than me, but is he going to be able to overtake me on the line to keep his championship hopes alive, or is it going to be a first Formula 1 World Championship for me? The gap is closing, but we take P2.
And with that, another year of Formula 1 draws to a close and a new World Drivers' Champion is declared. Another entry added to that prestigious list of the sport's most incredible drivers. Brilliant stuff from McLaren today. What a superb victory. So, Natalie, what made the difference out there today?
Well, confidence breeds confidence. Success breeds success. They are very much enjoying a purple patch right now.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
It is Oscar Piastri picking up the victory here, but it is going to be me taking home the Formula 1 World Championship. We were beaten to the punch in the final race last season, Abu Dhabi. I just didn't have the pace to match Lando Norris to win my first championship, but there will be no such problems this season. We didn't even need Abu Dhabi or Las Vegas to wrap this championship up. We have won it in Portugal with 2 races to go, and now we can fully turn our attention to the Constructors' Championship.
So let's see how the drivers' standings have changed. We also crown a champion today, as their lead at the top is now an insurmountable one. What a great year it's been for Formula 1. Let's focus on driver of the day, Natalie Pinkham. Come on, who do you pick?
Oscar Piastri gets my vote today.
Let's move on to the constructors. The owner drivers team moved to the top of the table. There is also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today as they make their way up the standings. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula 1. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Well, as they say in many sports, that also applies just as nicely to this one. Job's not done. There's still a Constructors' Championship to win, and we are just 3 points ahead of Mercedes. A strong race for those guys would easily put them in contention to win the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull, I would say, still have an outside chance, about 30 points down on us after a disappointing race for both Perez and Russell. Perez getting that DNF, of course, and Russell not really managing to capitalise on a bit of the carnage that was going on around the front, all these undercuts and wet shenanigans, things like that. Russell just couldn't manage to find a way to score big points here today and keep their constructors' hopes alive. So, yeah, they're going to have to hope for an absolute miracle in the next couple of races if they want to win the Constructors' Championship. For me, it's all about maximising my result in these last 2 races. We know how chaotic Las Vegas can be. Yes, Abu Dhabi is not my strongest track, and I would be very surprised if we managed to get a really good result there. But what we need more than anything, more than ever now in this season, we need Jack Doohan. We need him to showcase the form that I know that he's capable of doing. In 12 races at the end of last season, he had a victory and 3 podiums. So far in 21 races this season, he's had 1 third place, and that is the best result he's had all season. He's had a sprint victory, of course, in Baku, but he couldn't convert it. I just don't understand how it's gone so wrong for Jack Doohan this season, but maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to get away with it if he can finally hit a good run of form here in the last couple of races of the season in Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi. You'll have to wait and see how those things are going to work themselves out. But for me, I just have to try and maximise the result in these last couple of races. But tonight, we're going to be celebrating long into the night. It is a first Drivers' Championship for me in my 5th season of Formula 1. I've finally managed to clinch it over Lando Norris. And, well, we can look forward to next season a little bit now, as well as we can start thinking about whether we can beat Lando Norris or whether we're going to have a new championship rival next season. Because who knows, maybe there will be somebody else entering their name into the mix. Maybe it will be Jack Doohan. Who knows? Maybe it will be somebody completely different. Maybe that Ferrari seat will go to a rookie when Carlos Sainz vacates it at the end of this season for his retirement. Maybe someone like Porsche or Drugovich will be promoted into the Ferrari and instantly be massively on the pace. Another driver who I have been paying attention to in the driver market a little bit, who has suddenly gone up to an 85 rating with no boosts, is Callan Williams, who, honestly, if we're being frank, did not have the strongest junior feeder series career of all time. Obviously never made his way into Formula 1, not in Formula 2 anymore, not really sure what he's up to these days, but he's managed to find himself 85 rated here in Season 5. So could he get a call up to a Formula 1 seat? It wouldn't be completely out of the question, but that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.